Every MAGA conservative who is running for election or planning on running for election needs to learn these skills that I'm going to talk about right now. Hello, my name is Kyle and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about skills that every single MAGA conservative who is even considering running for any office going forward needs to learn. And I'm going to go over the candidate for the Arizona gubernatorial race. Her name is Kari Lake. She's a Trump-backed ultra MAGA conservative, and she has a certain skill set that every person needs to know. And there are a few that do know these skills. Obviously, Trump knows it, and you can say the governor of Florida knows it as well, Ron DeSantis, but very few conservatives do it as well as this person does. And I'm going to go over a clip that she did recently for the Arizona Republic. And I'm going to just talk about this particular article real quickly before we get into that. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Trump endorsed Kari Lake destroys liberal reporter. It was so devastating that the most biased paper in Arizona history didn't even run the story. How crazy is that? And I'm telling you, people, this is going to be a video you need to bookmark, because I'm going to break down everything she did and why every single conservative should do this, and why every conservative can do this. It's just basic skills and understanding what is going to be expected from you when you're dealing with the left. I have a background in politics. I've been dealing with the conservative movement going back to 2002. I've been involved at the national level. I've been involved at the local level. I've run campaigns. I've done training. I've been involved in a lot of different things. And so I'm going to share with you my experiences in this whole process and how Kari Lake exemplifies everything, and she delivers a masterclass on this matter. And so what I want to do is go over this article real quickly and then jump over to this clip and do a reaction to it. Arizona gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake stumped perhaps the most biased fake news media outlet in the state of Arizona. It was so bad that they didn't even publish a story when the Trump endorsed Arizona gubernatorial frontrunners interview. And I'm going to tell you exactly why they didn't cover it. This is actually brilliant. So here is a tweet from Kari. She says this: "When I wrote my op-ed detailing my border plan at AZ Central, refused to run it unless I took out the word invasion." AZ Central, I'm assuming that's going to be the Arizona Republic. She said, "I said never." Yesterday, our Attorney General issued this opinion, quote, "The violence and lawless at the border caused by transnational cartels and gangs satisfied the definition," unquote. So in this article, they kind of go through the whole thing, and she gives a clip of the actual interview. She gives a trailer, but I'm going to actually go over the section in there where I think she does the best. And that's going to be this clip right here. So Kari Lake is going to be to the left here, and this person here, I forget her name. She mentions her in the interview. It doesn't matter, but she's a extreme leftist, and Kari utterly destroys her. And I'm going to break this down to the point where you will know everything that's happening, how Kari is able to anticipate what she's going to say to her and how she's going to react to her, and how she even knows what direction she's going to go, and how she mitigates that by calling her out on an action that she knows she's going to try and take going forward. That is this leftist reporter. So without further ado, let's start this thing off. I'm going to break it up as we go.
Let's just, because I know you don't have a lot of time, I want to stay focused on border security and immigration. So talk to me about DACA. This policy has been on hold. Would you support reinstituting a process for young people to get citizenship?
Okay, so here we go. So what's happening here, I'm going to give you the rundown. And so if you're running for office, if you are a conservative, you must understand every single issue, no matter what it is, no matter how good it is in terms of what people want. Doesn't matter. You need to understand the left's position on it and the spin they put on it to paint you in a certain way. The left wants to do one of two things. They want to say you are an uncaring conservative who doesn't care about the issue that they want to project. You know how people say how we want to take people off of Medicaid and Social Security, and how we don't care about the elderly, how we don't care about these different groups. They want to divide and conquer. And so that's what they want to do from the left. If they can't get you there, they want to pin you as a rhino to your base. So they want to say, okay, well, this person isn't as conservative as you think they are. This is what they did with Kathy Barnett, okay? Because they couldn't get her on the other side. So that's what's happening here. So DACA is a policy or a position which basically says people who are undocumented, either they were born in Mexico, came across the border, or they were whatever, they are not naturalized U.S. citizens. And so they're in limbo in terms of what their status should be. And that is a very sensitive subject. So what the left does using DACA is they want to use a litmus test saying that if you're against DACA, then you hate immigration, that you hate legal immigration, that you are a racist in the whole nine. If they say you're for DACA, they're going to say that you are a rhino because conservatives don't like the word DACA. They think that is something that is dealing with a pathway to citizenship, which is also a bad thing that conservatives don't want. So Kari understands this from the very beginning, and watch how she deals with it.
Well, you do understand that that happens through the federal government, right?
I do.
Okay. And I'm running to be the governor of Arizona.
Sure.
So that's not something the governor decides.
Okay, so right now, this is one thing you need to learn as a candidate or a person who's in politics who gets questioned by the left. So the first thing you want to do is, once you identify they laid out a trap for you, you need to understand what the words mean. So, and what the position is, so they can't lay a straw man on you. And what a straw man simply means is they take something that you didn't say and attack you for saying it. And so what Kari is saying here is simply this. She said, look, as a governor, we don't have any say in this policy. This is a federal policy. I'm running for governor, so why are you asking me?
I'm just asking for your opinion on it.
I will tell you my opinion on it. I'm going to tell you my opinion. So typical of the far left to use people. They've used this group of people that the DACA kids, that are now adults. They've used them. Yeah. They use them every single time they can. We had a great president named Donald.
Okay, so right now what she's beginning to do now is, number one, she laid out the actual premise that I don't deal with the policy of DACA. And then she even jumped in and volunteered because she knew the next question was going to be. She anticipated the point of her asking for her opinion. So she said, but I'm going to give you my opinion anyway, even though the question is stupid. She's saying that the DACA kids, who the Democrats say they love so much, are actually being exploited. They're being used and manipulated. And in telling this story, she already captures the audience. She's reaching out to the people who are watching this, who could be independents, who could be Democrats who are maybe taking a look at her, and also signaling to the base that this is a strong candidate and we can count on her because she understands the policy, and she goes on attack mode. And listen to this.
Trump, who tried to work with the Democrats and say, let's talk, let's sit down, across the table and talk about DACA. See if we can come to some sort of an agreement. And guess what the Democrats did? Rather than really standing up and caring about this group of people that they acted like they cared about, they didn't give a damn. They said, hell no, we're not going to let President Trump have that win.
So right there, she's saying that the Democrats had an opportunity to deal with DACA. She lets people recall the time when Trump asked the Democrats to come into the Oval Office to have a discussion, to talk about the problem. And the Democrats basically said, we don't want to deal with it. I remember a lot of conservatives got a little antsy about Trump, about him even entertaining this subject matter. But Trump basically set them up by saying, look, if I offer a proposal, I know for a fact they're not going to accept it. So they're going to reject it and make themselves look like the bad guys, which they are, because at the end of the day, the Democrats don't care about the people. They don't care about the kids on DACA. They say they do, but they don't. They use them as political footballs so they can have their way and drive a narrative to make it look like we're doing the best for the poor people and the Republicans are racist and don't care about them. And nothing can be further than the truth. And stuff like this proves that.
And they walked away. So I hope that every person who's a part of the group called DACA, every Hispanic voter, every voter who cares about that group of people walks away from that party. That party when they had a chance to...
Okay, so right there she said she's appealing now to the voters, to the people who are the independents. Again, she's saying if you are a DACA individual, if you know people there, if you're a voter who cares about this particular policy, this issue, then you need to look at the Democrat Party and walk away from them because they're the ones who dropped the ball on this. And so she's laying this all at the feet of the Democrats, and she keeps this position up. And now's a good time to bring up something called staying on message or staying in your political box. And what that simply means is it's having 3 or 4 issues that you know backwards and forwards that you can put out at any point in time to let people know why they should vote for you and why you care so much about these issues. What this does is it takes the focus of the conversation back to where it needs to be. It promotes you and your opinion, and it prevents the left from steering you around and getting you off subject. So what she's doing here is she's about to go into that political box and share with the audience why it's so important to not only her, but also anyone listening who has common sense.
Talk to President Trump. I don't know what the deal would have been. They walked away and refused to make a deal. So that falls on the Democrats, okay? They obviously don't care.
I'm just not hearing your personal opinion on the policy.
I don't have a say in that, but I'm telling you that President Trump wanted to sit across the table and talk to them, try to work something out, and they walked away. Guess what the Democrats did? Rather than really standing up and caring about this group of people that they acted like they cared about, they didn't give a damn. They said, hell no, we're not going to let President Trump have that win. And they walked away.
And so right here, what she's saying is simply is that the Democrats used DACA kids as a political football. They didn't want to sit down with Trump to actually address the issue, and they were caught red-handed in their little scheme. And so she's putting this at the feet of the Democrats.
So I hope that every person who's a part of the group called DACA, every Hispanic voter, every voter who cares about that group of people walks away.
Listen to that. She said any person who is a DACA person, any Hispanic voter, and any person who cares about this issue. So she's speaking directly to the people that this particular question would relate to. And that's very, very important. This is a very, very skilled woman. She knows exactly who she's talking to, exactly who her audience is, and is speaking directly to them and then saying, look, if you care about this, if you're Hispanic, if you're a DACA individual, or if you're a voter who just cares about the issue, you need to look no further than the Democrat Party because they were the ones who dropped the ball on this whole thing because at the end of the day, they did not care about these people. All they cared about is political power and using them as a political football.
That party, when they had a chance to talk to President Trump, I don't know what the deal would have been. They walked away and
Okay, there's a key thing she said right there. I don't know what the deal would have been. What she's saying here basically is she's hedging against what the interviewer is going to ask next because she knows from the very beginning that this reporter wants her personal opinion on DACA so she can pin her one way or the other. If you don't have an opinion, it means you don't care. If you do have an opinion, she's going to pin it on whether you are leaning for DACA as a rhino to your base, or if you are against DACA as a racist for anyone who is an independent or a Democrat.
Refused to make a deal. So that falls on the Democrats, okay? They obviously don't care.
I'm just not hearing your personal opinion on the policy.
I don't have a say in that, but I'm telling you that President Trump wanted to sit across the table and talk to them, try to work something out, and they walked away.
Okay.
But
So she repeated the thing again. She basically said, I don't have anything to do with that. I'm a governor, but the Democrats were the ones that walked away from the table. And then she hedges forward again because she knows the reporter is going to come back again and ask for the personal opinion. So she's going to offer her opinion before she even gets a chance to answer it. She stays ahead of the interviewer, and it's absolutely brilliant. And this is why this interview was never aired.
I'll tell you what's happening now is because our border is so out of control, because there is an invasion on our border.
Okay, let me stop here real quickly. So what she's doing here is first she offered the opinion that had nothing to do with it. The Democrats are at fault because they were the ones who walked away from the deal. And now she's taking it a step further by going into her political box and giving the audience the actual reasons why this is so important and why anybody with common sense would be on her side.
Americans who might have, a few years ago, been open to making a deal Tell you what, they're closing down to wanting to make a deal on anything until that border is secure. So the conversation for Americans, they're not going to want to have that conversation until they know the invasion at our border has been stopped.
And by the way, she mentioned the word invasion a couple of times there on top of what she said in her actual tweet.
And that falls on the Democrats squarely. They use segments of the population. And when they had an opportunity to make a deal or have a discussion to maybe make life better for people that they said were with them, they walked away.
You see how she's staying in her box here? She is continually hammering home the message that the Democrats were the ones that walked away. And she takes a step further because the interviewer just can't let it go because she's so incompetent. She thinks she can get her on a gotcha question, and she cannot.
Okay, so I just want to make sure, the reason I'm asking about DACA is because we know it's important and supported by a lot of Arizonans.
No, the reason why you're asking about DACA is because you want to get her on a gotcha question. Stop lying.
You are declining to share a personal opinion about...
A personal opinion? What does that have to do with anything, her personal opinion? She's going to be a governor, which has nothing to do with the DACA policy.
That
I'm sharing my personal
policy.
opinion. The Democrats had a chance to talk to the president, potentially make a deal. They walked away. My personal opinion is I think the Democrats are despicable. They use large groups of the population. They dangle carrots in front of them and they pull them back. That's
her opinion. So she basically, again, volunteered her opinion again for a fourth or fifth time. The Democrats were the ones that dropped the ball. They dangle carrots in front of people. They use them just for political footballs. And she said again that, the people of her state do not want the DACA policy because they're seeing what's going on with this invasion at the border.
Personal opinion.
Okay, but no.
And about her personal opinion, she stresses, this is my personal opinion. So she wants to get on record so the interviewer can't say, you didn't say your personal opinion, so she can say, well, you have no opinion, and therefore you could be some uncaring, racist Republican.
I'm running for governor. I don't get to decide that. So my opinion is the Democrats should have actually stood up and sat at the table with President Trump, but they failed to do that. I don't get to rule on that. But I think it would have been interesting if the Arizona Republic would have covered that story and really called out these Democrats.
Now she's going on the offensive. She's with the Arizona Republic, which she calls repugnant in her tweet. So right now, she's getting tired of this because this reporter is obviously incompetent. So now Kari is going to go on the attack mode and ask her, you ask me, since you keep asking this question, why is it that the Democrats walked away from this deal? Don't you find that a little bit disturbing?
Using a big group of people for years and years and years, stringing them along when they finally have an opportunity to sit at the table and have a discussion and maybe make a deal, they said, no, we're not going to work with President Trump. Don't you think that's pretty despicable? I'm curious. Do
I guess
you?
I
Because
want
you
to
cover
ask
it.
you about...
I'm really curious.
And she's not letting her off the hook. That's another lesson to learn, people, is don't let these liberals off the hook. When you get them in a position where you know you got them beat, wait for an answer, demand an answer. Don't come off the subject until you get an answer. That's the key. Let them, if they're going to be wiggling around on the vine, don't let them off the hook. Keep hammering them until they give you an answer because they cannot defend their horrible positions, and it's fun to watch them squirm.
Stacey, because you cover it and you're saying that it's an important issue for your readers. Do you find it disturbing that the Democrats walked away?
And she threw her words back on her by saying, you said that this is important for your readers, so you tell me. That's brilliant.
Well, you know that I, as a reporter, am not going to answer that question. You are the candidate for office.
Because you're unbiased?
Because I don't have an opinion on it. I'm here to ask you questions because you want to be the governor. So,
okay. Well, let me just tell you.
Okay, so now she's squirming out of it, saying I'm a journalist, even though I am a biased journalist. She won't admit to that. So now Kari again is going to hedge against what she thinks she's going to say by offering one more hardcore statement to prevent her from trying to misquote her later on.
Because I think you know this, the governor doesn't decide on DACA. This is a great question for everyone running for Congress and Senate. And it's a great question for the Democrats who walked away from an opportunity to have a discussion about that and potentially make some sort of a deal.
She hammered again, basically saying, look, this is a good question for anyone running for Congress and any Democrat who walked away from this whole discussion.
I'm not, and don't write that I'm refusing to talk about it. I've given you my opinion.
Sure.
The Democrats use people, they continue to use people, and they will continue to use people down in the future.
Did you see that pause right there? There was a pause where the reporter had nothing more to say. She was dumbfounded. She knew she was dead to rights. And then one last time, Kari hedged again about what would come next. And she said, do not say that I don't have an opinion on this. I gave you my opinion, and the opinion, again, she restated it, how the Democrats use these people for political footballs, and it is a total masterclass on this. So if you guys want to know anything about dealing with the media and how to prevent yourselves from getting into these kind of gotcha questions and looking foolish or unprepared in an interview, study her interviews, study Trump, study DeSantis, but this one here is as good as I've ever seen. And so that's the end of the interview. I hope you liked that. I hope you pulled something from that. So let me know what you think on that. I think this was absolutely brilliant. Again, it's textbook. This should be in classes. This should be taught in every single GOP, conservative, libertarian, any kind of training for candidates should be taught how to deal with this type of attack from a journalist who comes across as well-meaning, but really at the end of the day, all they want to do is misquote you. They want to present you in a certain way so that they can discredit you and have your base either reject you or have independents who are thinking about you not even consider you because they see you in the way that the left wants you to be seen. So let me know what your thoughts are on this video. Again, please comment. I'd be curious to know what you think. And if you like what we do in this channel, we take pop culture and politics and filter to you right, then please check out some more content that we have for you right here.